today we have Candace Williams joining us. So glad you're here. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you live, what you spend your days doing, just so everyone can get to know you a little better.
Yes, thank you so much, first of all, for having me. I'm really excited to talk about all the topics. But first and foremost about me, I am a person of faith. I am a wife to a wonderful husband who is, honestly, I married up, you guys. He's so incredible. He actually is the reason why I'm able to do most of the stuff that I do today. So obviously I just shed. He's kind of the person in the back. A lot of people don't get to see all of the sacrifices that he makes. So I always want to give him the hugest shout out because he truly is the person that helps this cog kind of spin. And then I'm also a mom of two beautiful, amazing, world-changing daughters. There's Josie Grace, who was born in 2010. She's about to turn 12 years old. And then I have Evelyn Faith, who is just turned 9. And both of them are polar opposites, but also both very much the same. So anyway, first and foremost, that is really, truly who I am. And then the side part of that, I also own a few companies. Actually, today we'll be talking about Sling Bungee Fitness, but that is kind of the start or the jump start of all.
And we first met is because I came to try a class at Sling Bungee Fitness, and I was just trying some new workout classes around town. And I saw this one. Actually, someone had mentioned a bungee class, and I was like, what? Bungee? Like, that sounds like so much fun. And anyway, I left with the biggest smile on my face, just because for all of our listeners, though, who may not be familiar with Sling Bungee, give us just a quick rundown of it. Like, what is it? What's it not? Who can participate? What should they expect? Just all the above.
Yes, all the things. So that's like the gambit of all the things. But just to kind of give a little synopsis of the class, it's a low impact, high intensity form of fitness, but it's actually a progressive format. So if clients are new, which most people are, they've never done bungee fitness before, it's a progressive format. So people coming in, they get to learn the basics. They get to learn how to be acclimated to the bungee. We basically take them through skill sets, just basic skill sets before, leveling them up to a more progressive format after they continue, if they want to continue their journey in bungee fitness. It's progressive. So they're able to actually gradually progress with the actual fitness. But what makes it so appealing, people watch these videos, and if you followed our social media, there's tons of people who are following our social media. And I think it's just because people see this form of fitness and they're like, okay, that looks fun. And it is so much fun. But basically what it is there's bungee cords that are attached to the ceiling. So it's rigged sort of like aerial arts. And basically there's bungee cords that you harness yourself in. These bungee cords are attached to the harness, and then you start working out. So it's actually a low impact workout because these bungees absorb a lot of the, a lot of the landing plyometrics, things that we do. But the bungee cords are also adding resistance. So every time you squat, every time that you do, a burpee or a fly, anything like that, your body is engaging the entire time. So it's a low impact, high energy resistance format. So it's a lot of fun. As you said, you came in and you were smiling. It is not uncommon when we do a warm up or we do a skill that people just start clapping in the middle of class because they're like, oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Yes. And you have, like you said, it's to make it fun again. And I can attest that you have, because before coming to the class, like the dreaded B word for me was burpee. And so much so that the Thanksgiving before, I had a friend who gave me this, who asked me to participate in this after turkey challenge. And there were predefined workouts that we had to do. You have to record your time and then submit it. And there was a little contest going on. And I was doing so great until I came to the burpees, and my time just tanked. It ruined it. I started to feel lightheaded, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old if I can't do a burpee without feeling sick. And anyway, so then when I'm at the intro class and they said we're gonna do burpees, it was like the B word. I heard the B word, but like I said, I left wanting there to be a class with only bungee burpees. Like, it was so fun. It was that low impact that you talked about, and just absolutely loved it. And so, why I'd like for you to tell us more about why did you choose Sling Bungee Fitness? How does it, you kind of talked a little bit about the low impact, how it differs from other workouts, but maybe even just a little bit more of the science behind it.
Yeah. So Sling Bungee actually started in my garage. It wasn't something that I actually wanted to, well, I flirted with the idea of opening a studio, but really the whole reason that it all started was for a necessity for myself. But I mean, we can talk about that a little bit later. The science behind this and why I was appealed to this is because my body can no longer do a high impact workout. And I really, really love CrossFit. I love box gyms. I love Orange Theory. There's something about me, and that's probably post gymnast in me that was just, I just love this high energy, high intensity type of class or fitness. And so my body demanded a low impact. And so I couldn't even do hardly jumping jacks on the floor anymore. That's where I was at in my physical, struggles at the time. And so I saw this video. I have not invented bungee fitness. Bungee fitness actually started 2 years before we opened our studio. And it actually started over in Bangkok. So the owner that started Bungee Fitness was almost, they had like a circus type of setting. And so they took something very circusy and made it a little bit more practical, so to speak. So that's where Bungee Fitness kind of started, and that's where it developed. And I was Googling all things low impact, high intensity because my body needed it. But I also didn't want to go swimming. I didn't want to put on a bathing suit. I had already gained all of this weight from my personal struggles and my own health struggles. So I didn't want to put on a bathing suit and go swimming. That just wasn't for me. I don't mind cycling. Cycling is also high intensity and low impact as well. And then there was yoga. And for me, I really love plyometrics. I love moving. I love explosive movements. And so sometimes I think that Google knows us better than we know ourselves. So I saw this viral video it was going viral over in Europe. And I was like, this is something that I want to do. And so I started Googling bungee fitness in my area. And I was like, there's nothing in the United States. Like, what is going on here? And so for me, it was almost, I felt like hopeless, like, oh man, it's going to take forever before Oklahoma like jumps on the bandwagon of, what New York is doing, let alone what the rest of the world is doing. So I showed the video to my husband and I said, look, I think this is something that I can do. And so my husband surprised me for Christmas. We got me some bungee cords. We rigged a really ridiculous rig inside of my garage, but we got some bungee cords and we got like a rock climbing harness to make this work. And that was the first time that I started working out in months. And it was something that I could actually do. So really the science behind this is it's obviously resistance training. So when you add resistance, plus you add plyometrics, plus you add low impact to that, you're talking about, really sky's the limit and anybody can do it just for the simple fact that you're not hurting your joints. And I think you get to a certain age or even somebody who may be an athlete, somebody who's been doing sports for a while or maybe even going to the gym for a while, and they're just not feeling the same. They're like, my knee's not the same, my hip's not the same, whatever it is. And they start seeing limitations. And this is where that can really break through limitations, but it can also still keep those plyometrics in that high energy class.
Well, I love how just brave you were in that, and just and hearing that it was meeting a necessity, is meeting a need. You started small, and that was the next right step for you. And I think sometimes we want to better ourselves, especially at the beginning of the year. We're thinking about this a lot more, making resolutions. And, maybe it's to read more, pray more, to eat less or work out more, whatever it may be. But from my experience, like starting one good habit tends to have ripple effects throughout every area of my life, be it physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, financial, like all of it. And so, it's really all connected. And so I'm curious to learn more from your experience, like through fitness. I know you've had to overcome adversity. Talked a little bit about that. I'd like for you to tease that out for us just a little bit more, and also practice discipline. And so what parallels have you seen in your fitness and your faith journeys?
Well, it all ties together. I feel like it's this beautiful dance that the Lord has done in my life. And I almost say that every necessity or almost every journey of purpose starts with birth pains. And that's kind of where mine started, right? We don't like the labor pains when we're going through it, but the end result really is something that we couldn't even prepare ourselves for. And that's kind of parallel for moms who are experiencing maybe childbirth and welcoming a child into the world for the first time. It's just something that you can't ever prepare for. But the end result is so beautiful. And that's kind of my story. That's my journey and what happened. It all was birthed out of pain. And so back in it, more like I would say after I gave birth to my daughter, my body was not recovering well. So I had my second daughter. I really just thought after I gave birth to her that, maybe it's taking a while for my body to recover. Maybe this is just postpartum stuff. I'm going to give it a good year and kind of see, if my body starts responding a little bit better. And rather than better, it was really just getting worse. And so I just started noticing things were changing and they were shifting. It was more like, hey, I'm out of the newborn stage, but I still have massive fatigue. I have a lot of joint pain. There was just a lot of things that were new and things that were causing limitations. But really what triggered it was I got a stomach bug. It actually might've been food poisoning because I got violently sick and I went to the hospital. I got some fluids, but I felt like that was like the perfect storm because everything that I had struggled with, plus, dealing with that, my body just was not responding well at all. I went straight downhill from there. I went from somebody who had zero energy. Just getting out of bed in the morning was a complete struggle. I couldn't go to sleep at night. So now there's all these compounding issues. So we're talking joint pain. We're talking massive fatigue. It was hard for me to breathe. I was struggling just getting what I felt like was adequate air. And it just hit me different from somebody who used to be a very physically active person to somebody who is literally didn't have enough energy to go to the grocery store to get milk. That was an issue for me. It was a key sign that something is wrong with my body. And I've always told people, you need to be your own health advocate, because I would go to the doctor and they'd be like, well, we don't really see anything on the blood panel. Nothing really is looking off. So I went from doctor to doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what is going on with my body. But I knew there were just multiple things inside of my body that weren't wrong. There was all these signs that were leading to an autoimmune disorder. So for those who are really, really struggling, something's going on, you need to listen to that. Keep pressing into that, because what I would say is you're your own health advocate and you really need to get those things checked out, and don't just go to one person, go to another person that will hear you out. So that being said, that was kind of the start of my journey. It was a long journey. I felt like I had been faithful. I didn't understand why God was putting me through all of these things. I was in an immense pain. So all my joints and my tendons and my muscles, I just got tired. And I think that we've all kind of been there at some point in our life where we don't understand what God's doing, right? We are sitting in the middle of what I would say is like, maybe I call it my darkest hour. It was a really, really hard time for me. And I started asking God all the really hard questions, right? I don't understand what you're doing. I just lost it one night, to be honest with you. I couldn't sleep. I had high anxiety, all of these pains. And then there was a conversation that I had with God. And it was a very real, what I'm going to say, almost childish conversation that I had with God, but almost a necessary conversation, because I didn't understand. I felt like I was faithful. I felt like I was watching God do miracles when we would pray over somebody, but he wasn't answering mine. Mm-hmm. And I saw him do all these fantastic things for all of these other people. But when it came to my prayers, it felt very silent and it felt very absent and it felt very removed. And really where I want to encourage people is God is working in the silence. You just may not feel it, but he is. He's doing something through that. And sitting in that is okay. And asking questions is also okay. And that's where I was. I was asking the hard questions. I was asking God, why is it that you're doing this for other people? You're not doing it for me. I felt like I was in a sea of people and everybody was in color. And I was in black and white, like waving to God, like, here I am, like, see me. Yeah. And I just felt